A lone hunter's act of kindness toward a dying pregnant wolf led to an incredible reunion 1 year later. After saving the wolf and her unborn pups, he heard a sound that brought tears to his eyes. In a small clearing, Jack found something shocking. A pregnant wolf, sick and alone, lying helplessly in the cold Alaskan snow. Without hesitating, Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out the dried meat he had packed for lunch. He gently tossed it towards the wolf, who sniffed it carefully before eating it. "There you go, girl," Jack said softly. "You need that more than I do." As Jack watched the wolf eat, he noticed how thin she was. Her fur was matted and dirty, and she looked like she hadn't eaten in days. He wondered what had happened to her pack, as wolves usually live in groups to help each other hunt and survive. But this wolf was all alone. From that day, Jack made it his mission to help the wolf. He named her Luna because her fur shimmered like moonlight. Realizing that Luna's babies would come soon, Jack worried about how she would care for her pups in the cold winter. He knew he had to act fast. Without wasting any time, Jack hurried back to his cabin to gather supplies. He returned with an axe, rope, and as many blankets as he could carry. Working tirelessly through the day, Jack built a small shelter near where he had found Luna. As the sun set, Jack knew it was time to move Luna. He approached her slowly, speaking in soothing tones. "Hey there, Luna. I got a better place for you to rest." Luna's eyes followed him wearily, but she didn't try to move away. With great care, Jack wrapped Luna in a warm blanket. She was weak and didn't resist as he gently lifted her into his arms. Carefully, he laid Luna down on the soft bedding. She seemed to relax almost immediately, sinking into the warmth and comfort of her new home. As the first stars appeared in the sky, he reluctantly prepared to leave. "I'll be back first thing in the morning, Luna. You rest now." From that day forward, Jack returned every day, bringing Luna food and checking on her progress. At first, Luna remained cautious, but she began to trust him as the days passed. Jack's kindness to Luna didn't go unnoticed by the other animals in the forest. A curious black wolf began to follow Jack on his daily visits to Luna. At first, Jack was worried that the black wolf might try to harm Luna or her future pups, but to his surprise, the black wolf seemed just as concerned about Luna as he was. One day, when Jack arrived at Luna's shelter, he found the black wolf curled beside her, keeping her warm. Jack couldn't believe his eyes. It was as if the black wolf knew Luna needed help and wanted to do his part. As winter dragged on, Jack continued to care for Luna. He would talk to her softly, telling her stories about his life in the forest. Luna seemed to listen, her amber eyes fixed on Jack as he spoke. One stormy evening, Jack was worried. The wind howled outside his cabin, rattling the windows. He had a feeling something was wrong. He put on his warmest coat and went out into the blizzard to check on Luna. The snow was so thick he could barely see where he was going, but he pressed on, worried about his wolf friend. When he got to Luna's shelter, his heart sank. Luna wasn't there. He looked around, calling her name. Then he heard a faint whimper. Following the sound, Jack found Luna in a small cave nearby. She was having her babies. Jack stayed with Luna throughout the evening, keeping her calm and warm. He used his coat to shield her from the cold wind that blew into the cave. As the hours passed, Jack watched in amazement as Luna gave birth to 4 tiny, squirming wolf pups. After the delivery, Jack left and promised Luna to return the next morning. The following day, when the storm had finally passed, Jack came as promised. He saw Luna curled with her new family, looking tired but happy. He helped her care for her pups, bringing extra food so she could make milk for them. As the weeks passed, the pups grew stronger. They started playing and exploring outside the shelter he built for them. Jack loved watching them, especially the smallest pup, whom he named Tiny. Tiny was always the last to try new things, but once he got going, he was the most adventurous. The black wolf continued to visit, now playing with the wolf pups as if they were his own family. Jack was amazed at how well the Black Wolf and Luna got along. It was as if they had formed their own little pack, with Jack as an honorary member. When spring was near, Jack noticed more activity in the forest. While visiting Luna and her pups one afternoon, he heard a twig snap and muffled voices in the distance. His wilderness instincts told him something was wrong. Jack quietly crept through the underbrush, following the sound. He soon saw 4 hunters with rifles tracking Luna's prints in the melting snow. His heart raced as he overheard their conversation. "We've been tracking this wolf pack for days," one hunter whispered. "They've been spotted near farms. We can't risk them attacking livestock or people." "I heard there are pups," another added. "Better to handle this now before it gets worse." Jack knew he had to act fast. He quickly went to Luna's den, his mind racing to come up with a plan. As he arrived, he saw Luna herding her pups deeper into the cave. The Black Wolf stood guard at the entrance. However, Jack could hear the hunters getting closer, their voices growing louder. When the hunters came into view, Jack stood firmly in front of the shelter entrance. His stance was resolute, his eyes meeting theirs with unwavering determination. "This wolf and her pups are under my protection," he said firmly, his voice echoing through the still forest air. "They've done no harm to anyone." The hunters were shocked, lowering their rifles slightly in surprise. They had never seen anyone defend a wolf before. "Jack," one of them said, recognizing him, "what are you doing? These wolves could be dangerous." Jack took a deep breath. His next words could mean life or death for Luna and her family. He began to tell them Luna's story, explaining how he had found her dying in the snow and helped her survive the brutal winter. As he spoke, his voice filled with passion and conviction, detailing the birth of the pups and the unlikely friendship that had formed. "Come see for yourselves," Jack urged, gesturing towards the shelter. Cautiously, the hunters approached. He showed them how gentle Luna was and how her pups were like playful puppies. As if on cue, Tiny, the smallest pup, poked his head out of the shelter, his curiosity overcoming his fear. The hunters watched in amazement as the pup cautiously approached Jack, nuzzling his hand. The hunters listened, their expressions shifting from suspicion to wonder. They were amazed by Jack's compassion and the unusual friendship between a man and a wolf. One by one, they lowered their rifles completely, the tension in the air dissipating. "I've never seen anything like this," one hunter admitted, shaking his head in disbelief. "Maybe we were too quick to judge." Jack seized the moment. "These wolves aren't a threat," he explained. "They're a family just trying to survive like the rest of us. I've been watching them closely, and I can assure you they haven't gone near any farms. They hunt in the deep forest away from people." The hunters exchanged looks, clearly reconsidering their mission. Finally, the leader spoke. "All right, we trust you, but you'll need to keep an eye on them. Make sure they stay out of trouble." Jack nodded solemnly, relief washing over him. "You have my word," he promised, knowing he had just become the official protector of Luna's pack. As the hunters departed, Jack turned back to the shelter. Luna and the Black Wolf stood at the entrance, their amber eyes meeting his. As spring arrived, Jack knew it was time to let Luna and her pups return to the wild. Though it was a tough decision, he understood it was best for their survival. One cool morning, Jack went to the shelter he had built. Luna and her pups were already outside enjoying the sunlight. Jack walked up slowly, feeling emotional. "Hey there, girl," he said gently. Luna's ears perked up and she wagged her tail. The pups, now bigger and more confident, played around her feet. With a deep sigh, Jack started taking apart the shelter. He removed the branches and logs he had carefully put together. As he worked, he talked to Luna, explaining what he was doing. "It's time for you to go, Luna," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "You and your pups need to be free, to live like wolves should." Luna watched him closely, seeming to understand. The black wolf, a constant companion, observed from nearby. Once the shelter was gone, Jack gathered the blankets he had used for Luna. He folded them neatly, planning to keep them as a memory. With the area restored, Jack knew it was time for the final goodbye. He knelt down, letting the pups come to him one last time. Each one nuzzled his hand, showing their wild nature. Finally, Jack turned to Luna. He gently petted her head and scratched behind her ears one last time. "Thank you," he whispered, "for trusting me and showing me a side of nature I never knew." Luna licked his hand, bringing tears to Jack's eyes. Then, as if she understood, she barked softly to her pups. They gathered around her. Jack stood up and stepped back. "Go on now," he said, his voice breaking. "It's time for you to be wild again." Luna gave Jack one last look, then led her pups deeper into the forest. The black wolf hesitated, then followed them. Jack watched as they disappeared into the forest. He stood there for a long time, listening to the sounds of the forest and feeling a mix of sadness and peace. Back at his cabin, Jack took out a notebook and started writing about his time with Luna. As he wrote, Jack realized that while Luna and her pups were gone, they had forever changed how he saw the forest and its creatures. A whole year had passed. One autumn day, Jack was in the forest when he heard a strange sound. It was a wolf's howl, but it sounded familiar. Jack looked around, his heart racing as he searched the trees. At the edge of a clearing, he saw a sight that took his breath away. Luna, bigger and stronger than before, with 4 grown wolves by her side, her pups. Luna's howl echoed through the forest. She seemed to recognize this area, the spot where Jack had helped her through that harsh winter and where she had given birth. The familiar surroundings had likely triggered her instinct to call out, marking her territory and signaling to her pack. Tears filled Jack's eyes as he watched Luna and her family. They looked healthy and happy. Luna's eyes met Jack's, and for a moment, it felt like she was acknowledging him, remembering the kindness he had shown her a year ago. Then Luna howled again, and this time her grown pups joined in, their voices creating a beautiful wild chorus. Jack laughed and cried simultaneously, overwhelmed by the unexpected reunion and the proof of Luna's thriving family. He noticed a flash of black fur. The black wolf was still following Luna's pack. Jack's heart swelled joyfully to see that the unlikely friendship between the black wolf and Luna had lasted. For a few precious minutes, Luna and her family stayed at the edge of the clearing, as if allowing Jack to see how well they were doing. Then, with one last look at Jack, Luna turned and disappeared into the forest, her pups and the black wolf following close behind. After the wolves were gone, Jack's heart felt full of happiness and pride. He had always considered himself a simple hunter, but now he realized he was part of something bigger. His kindness had not only saved Luna and her pups, but it also changed him in ways he never expected. Have you ever had a surprise meeting with a wild animal that changed how you think? Let us know in the comment section below.